What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're checking out why US signs look different than the rest of the world. Okay, I didn't know the rest of the world had like a default signage, but I'm intrigued. If you're enjoying our content, by the way guys, smash that like button, smash the subscribe button, we would really appreciate you, absolute legends. It does really help us out. Check out Patreon as well, quite a few people going over there for Game of Thrones, so thank you. Episode 4 will be coming out tomorrow on there, and hopefully episode 3 on the channel will be tomorrow or Saturday. Like I say, smash that button guys, smash the subscribe button. Let's check out how the US signs are so different. I want to see if I recognise some, because I'm assuming this is mainly talking about like road signs, driving and stuff like that. And I did drive in, did I drive in California? I did drive in California, in LA, and then I drove in Austin as well. So I drove in a couple of states. I want to see if I recognise the signs, what we got.
Most places in the world, the road sign for no stopping, as in don't stop your car here, looks something like this. In Austria, it looks like this. In Belgium, It looks like this. Slightly different shades of blue, but basically the same.
Yeah, very
India's
similar.
looks like this, Mauritius's looks like this. In a few countries there are these cute white borders. Japan's looks like this, slightly different angle, but basically the same. Pretty much every country in the world has universally decided that the sign for no stopping is a blue circle outlined in red with a red X through it. In the United States, the sign for no stopping looks like this. And it's not the only example. Most countries' sign for speed limits looks like this. The US's looks like this.
I'm not against it. Really not against it. The first one says no stopping. So, although obviously everyone knows the other sign is no stopping, it saves the whole, ooh, what's that sign again if you forgot? It literally says no stopping, and you know it is. I kind of prefer the American version. And then the speed limit, again, it's not just a random square on a 50. It says speed limit, so you understand it. So again, I like the American one. It tells you what it is. Yes, it may be common sense, but some people aren't very good drivers. Some people have moments of dumbness. I have moments of dumbness at times as well. A lot of the time, actually. So just a little helping hand saying what that number means eliminates that. I like it.
And how about the sign for road narrows? The rest of the world, America. The list goes on. The question is, why? In a technical sense, the car was invented in 1886 in Germany by a guy named Carl Benz. But in a patriotic sense, the car was invented in 1908 in Detroit, Michigan by a guy named Henry Ford. Henry Ford loved two things: being anti-Semitic and producing cars at a scale and at cost that made them an actual, viable means of transportation for people, as opposed to previous car models that were essentially just novelties. Soon, its manufacturing dominance turned the United States of America into the car capital of the world, which soon also made it into the road capital of the world. A fact that everyone thought was great and continues to think is great and has generated no controversy or existential urbanist crises whatsoever. Early road signs, much like early roads, were somewhat eclectic and decentralized, often just created by and maintained by private automobile clubs. But in 1927, the American Association of State Highway Officials, or ASHU, published the compactly named Manual and Specifications for the Manufacture, Display, and Erection of U.S. Standard Road Markers and Signs, or Massmittemersum, which, as you might suspect, created specifications for the manufacture, display, and erection of U.S. Standard Road Markers and Signs. Then, in 1930, a different group, the National Conference on Street and Highway Safety, or NCSHUS, published the more urban-focused Manual on Street Traffic Signs, Signals, and Markings, or MOSSAM. Seeing as having two standardization standards wasn't a particularly standardized standard, in 1931, a joint committee was formed, which ultimately gave birth to a beautiful bouncing baby boy that we call the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, a modified version of which we still use today. The original 1935 code laid out such hits as the octagonal stop sign, although it was yellow at the time, one-way streets, railroad crossings, in addition to specifying stuff like fonts, post designs, and of course, everyone's favorite, minimum vehicular volumes warrant for fixed-time signals. Now it's 1951, and what's that sound I hear? Oh man, it's the rest of the world, and guess what? They have cars now. What's that other sound I hear? Oh man, it's the newly formed and not yet notoriously ineffective United Nations, and they want to develop a worldwide standard for road signs so that people driving in foreign countries don't see a sign saying railroad crossing, not know what that means, and then get pancaked into oblivion by Thomas and friends. So
at the risk of, not even at the risk of anything, if somebody's already done it, it seems to be successful. America's done it, it seems successful. Why not just copy the American version? Again, I had no offence to it saying speed limit on there being a white sign. I had no offence to it literally just saying no stopping. So why have they not just followed? But I feel like this is Europe's fault. for not following what technically was set as a standard by the US. Let us know in the comments what you think, but yeah, I'm on the US side for this.
The UN set up an experiment in a few countries and 5 US locations: Ohio State Route 104 near Columbus, US Route 250 and Virginia State Route 53 near Charlottesville, Minnesota State Highway 101 near Minneapolis, and some various other roads in New York, where they displayed road signs from a number of different countries to see which were most effective. And not surprisingly, it turned out that Americans, still riding the intoxicating high of World War II propaganda and American exceptionalism, did not take kindly to European-looking triangles telling them how to drive. Just take a look at this gem of an article from the Mansfield News Journal titled "Ohioans Tell Europe to Leave Its Signs," which includes such quotes as, "I just don't see why we have to take any advice from Europe about our highway signs," and "If I saw a Russian sign, I certainly wouldn't pay any attention to it." Nonetheless, the experiment continued, data was collected, and ultimately that data would later grow into the 1968 Vienna Convention on Road Signs and Signals, a C-tier Vienna Convention that created a universal road sign system, which has been joined by 69 countries and today governs the road sign scene in most of the world. It's the reason that all the no-stopping signs look the same. But adding to their long, illustrious history of spearheading international treaties that they then refused to sign, the United States refused to sign it. Why? Well, there are several reasons. First off, America is number one and nobody tells us what to do, least of all our own federal government.
Fair enough.
Technically, legally, roads are under the purview of the states, not the federal government, and so the federal government signing a treaty telling them how to handle their roads is a bit legally murky. Although apparently not that murky, seeing as the 1966 Highway Safety Act was able to force all states into compliance with the MUTKID using a clever little constitutional workaround called extortion, threatening to pull 10% of their federal highway funding if states didn't comply. Second, at the time of the treaty,
that does sound proper illegal, but fair enough. By the way, it is during a few moments. I don't know if it's a video of your wireless earphones. Hopefully it's your wireless earphones and you guys haven't heard that.
The US was starting to work on what would ultimately become the interstate highway system, which they felt would require a lot of breathless, fast-paced innovation in the rough and tumble world of road signage, and they didn't want to be bogged down by the strictures of a treaty. And third, given that the US had the most robust grooming history in the world, Americans were pretty attached to their existing signs, and they didn't much want them to change. This was proven in the 1970s when the MUTKID tried implementing the Vienna Convention's focus on image-based instead of America's more text-based signs, which turned out to be a terrible failure, with drivers so confused about what things like this meant that we felt we needed to add back in the text explaining that the thing in front of them was a drawbridge, not a sick ramp for kids. In 1978, the MUTKID quietly removed its language about preferring image-based signs. I should also mention that yes, there are a number of other countries that haven't joined the Vienna Convention, including China, Canada, Australia, and Ethiopia. So yes, not all other countries' signs look the same. So all the people with the comments already typed up about how this video is too US-centric and I'm a self-obsessed, egoist American road sign file, you know what? Actually, go for it. It increases common engagement.
That is very true. Any haters in the comments below, just get them in there, because it does actually help. Even though most of you legends are super nice, so thank you.
If you think back to a time when you really struggled to learn something, chances are you were reading a big block of text and hoping the concept it described just clicked. Meanwhile, if you think of a time when you learned something easily, it was almost certainly an instance of learning by doing. Learning concepts in practice is just the better way, which is why it's so crazy that many of the coolest, most interesting things to know are so often taught in such a challenging manner. Our sponsor, Brit.
Listen, I didn't even click that was a sponsor. It's the end of the video. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed that. Let me know in the comments if you have. I enjoyed that. I feel like the US did it first. Why not just go with the same system? Yes, they took a lot of data, but they took data mainly off the US who didn't like their signs. So why don't you just go with the same signs? Then it could have been universal around the whole world. You could have got making them. A couple of companies could be like, yeah, we're the sign makers. You know what I mean? Maybe that sounds a bit like a monopoly. Probably. Maybe that's why they didn't do it. Smash that button if you enjoyed, guys. Smash the subscribe button. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And I'll see you legends in the next one. Peace.